Can we please bring in Brien Ray from Bally Sports, Dallas Stars television broadcast? They've won 7 in a row. Hey, Brien, welcome back to the show. I literally had to look that up. I swear to God, you guys are the Rodney Dangerfield of the National Hockey League. Never getting enough respect. Are you used to it by now?
Oh, absolutely. I think when you work on, we'll call it a bit of an island down here in Dallas, non-traditional market island, however you want to phrase it. But that's not a bad thing. You know, if you think about it sometimes, look, you always want to get more recognition, more praise, more glory. But there's a cost to that. And if you are going to play under the bright lights and get all that recognition, that means you're going to get all the grief and stress and drama when things aren't going well. And we always use Toronto as the primary example, and just the pressure or the intensity or the daily grind of media attention played in a market like that. So, yeah, there's always bad that goes with the good, and there's always good that goes with the bad. But at the end of the day, if you're a Dallas Stars fan, recognition or not, you're sitting number one in the Central, number one in the West. You've got a possible shot at a President's Trophy, but you're playing some really good hockey right now. So we'll stick with that and just enjoy that right now.
Well, I swear, I was looking back at your schedule on the Score app, the GOAT of sports apps. It's like Dub versus Seattle. Wait a minute. Dub, 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 Dub. You know what I mean? I was like, what the hell? How come nobody's talking about the Dallas Stars? And then having said that, I love how the Score app has the playoff pairings round one every day, and they're shifting. And if the playoffs started today, the Stars would play the LA Kings. That's somewhat new because forever it's been the Kings and Oilers. How would a matchup with LA go over, do you think?
Well, on paper, the Stars have beaten LA, I think, both times they faced them this year. So you would certainly feel good about that. I am one of those believers that it feels like this year specifically, there's 8 teams separated by 6 or 7 points at the top of the NHL when you include the East and the West. I think you can look at both conferences and look at the top 5 teams, and they all have one really big check mark that says they can win the Stanley Cup because of that. They also have one legitimate question mark to where you can say, all right, that could be a trapdoor or a pitfall along the way, and they don't win the Stanley Cup. And Dallas is included in that list. So you could look at some things and go, yeah, this matchup would be better here. This matchup could be better there. I think regardless of in the West, whoever you're getting in the first round, you're getting set up for a bar fight with how things have gone. Because, Vegas finally played themselves out of the wild card picture, but if they fall back into it, you're getting the reloaded defending champs. LA, for whatever reason, they had that crazy first half, but I look at their lineup and I'm like, how are they in the wild card? Like, what went so sideways that a team with that kind of depth is in a wild card picture? You look at Nashville, they finally lost, but I think we were all surprised. Would the Predators ever lose a game in regulation again? So even if you're a top team, if you're Vancouver or Dallas, you're looking at the bottom going, okay, what is a good matchup? Because all 3 of those teams, or all 4 of those teams, because Winnipeg has tabled off a little bit, there's a major problem that you have to deal with regardless of who you're getting in that first round.
Allie in Texarkana, you know her. She writes in, Allie girl. She says, I'm so excited for the playoffs this year. Oddly not nervous yet. Let's go Stars with a green heart. A Dallas-LA meeting, I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but it harkens me back to days gone by with Dave Tippett coaching the Stars, and he had been with LA. Like, that seems like a century ago. And, you grew up in St. Louis. I want to ask you what memories you have of, as a kid growing up. Was it Blues, North Stars matchups, or, what do you remember as a St. Louis kid when it comes to Stanley Cup playoff time? What sticks out?
So I'll hit you with the first memory I have was I got into hockey when Brett Hall had his what was it, his 76 goal and then his 82 goal season. It was Hall and Oates in St. Louis, but they ran into that North Stars team that had no business going to the Stanley Cup final in those early 90s, but made that miracle run before they got ousted to Pittsburgh. And then I think what took my hockey fandom to the next level was when the Blues swept the Blackhawks in the first round. I think it was 93, but that was kind of the Curtis Joseph coming out party or anointing, because I think he had 2 shutouts in that series, and Ed Belfour's breaking his stick over the goal when they lost in that 4th game. That's kind of the lasting image for Blues fans. And then when I started to get into hockey professionally, this is the early 2000s into the 2010s. So you're coming off the unbelievable rivalry series with it was Colorado and Detroit because they won multiple cups, but those late 90s Colorado, Detroit, Dallas teams were going to head. Then you had the Rangers and the Devils on the other side, and there was this whole crazy rotation of which team was going to survive that gauntlet. And then we got into the emergence of the Blackhawks dynasty. And you mentioned LA. It comes into the LA Kings, and they sort of played back and forth there. So there's a very long Rolodex of how my hockey fandom translated into my early professional life. But yeah, growing up in St. Louis, there were great Blues series, but there was always something that got in the way.
Hey, I'm interested in all of it. If nobody else cares, I do. I love this stuff. And you would actually appreciate this. I did a banquet with Cujo, and he talked about being in goal in practice and Brett Hull working on his one-timers with those old Easton aluminum plates. He says by the time Hully was done, they looked like bananas, and the coach, Mike Keenan, would pull out the blade, shove in a left blade, and give it to left-handed shooting guys and say, bend it back, because they were so cheap, they wouldn't just toss those sticks over the boards. And just selfishly, I want to ask you about the Mike Modano statue unveiling, because he is my favorite player of all time. I don't care about nationalities. I don't see passports. I don't see color. I see speed. And I love me some Mo. How was it, man? Was it as good as it looked?
It was awesome. The whole thing was awesome. And on a side note, remind me to tell you a good Brett Hall story at the end of all this, since you brought him up. But the Modano experience was, you know what? It was one of those. It worked out when you didn't think it would. The statue looks fantastic. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at pictures, but the statue looks absolutely sensational. They nailed it.
Oh, yeah.
It was supposed to be an outdoor ceremony that began in the afternoon, and the staff, Mike Modano, his family, all the people that had been putting this thing together for multiple years had this whole thing laid out. He was the Grand Marshal in the St. Patrick's Day parade because it was the day they were running it. It was the day before St. Patrick's Day. And then right before, about an hour before, maybe 2 hours before, we get crushed with thunderstorms. Just crushed by it. So they waited as long as possible before they had to finally take the ceremony, postpone it, and move it inside to the first intermission, because you had a lightning warning at that point with thunderstorms. It wasn't just the rain, it was the lightning warning. So they nailed it, and they had the timing perfect where the period ended. Daryl Ray was ready to go, starts the ceremony. They've got Modano on the stage in the arena. They had whole video shots of the unveiling on the video board. But Mike Modano, we were interviewing him afterwards, and it was an interesting point by him. He said it kind of worked out that the weather forced it inside, because instead of an outdoor ceremony with who knows how many people, traffic is buzzing around, things like that, his speech was inside, and all 18,000 people stayed in their seats to listen to the speech, see him get emotional. So the crowd noise, the echoes, the reverberation, the chanting, it was all going on in different parts of the speech. So it made for a better fan experience, and I think intimate experience for him to have 18,000 people right on top of him giving the speech. you just didn't have the statue being unveiled right next to him. So in some ways, it did work out better that the weather forced everything inside, and he was super emotional. He was absolutely fantastic when we talked to him. It was just an awesome night, and it should be when fans get their guy, the greatest player in their franchise history, his statue unveiling. That's a special moment for a team, a player, a fan base, and an organization. This is the first statue in Dallas Stars history, so that's a big moment for the organization. And then my Brett Hall story for you. There was a oh, go ahead, Rob.
We're 2 minutes over, so we might have to save that till next time. I apologize. Can we do that? Can we save it till next time? I won't forget.
Yes, remind me next time.
We will. Okay, Brien, thanks for this, man. Good luck in the playoffs.
Appreciate it. Good to talk to you guys.